Hi everyone, this is Charmander, and in this video, I'm going to be doing a hero tier list for Rider heroes specifically in Doomsday Last Survivor. Now, the main factors I'm going to be using to determine whether someone is higher rank or lower rank are the following. First, if you are somebody that is not Rider main, if these heroes would still be your go-to heroes, just so you have somebody to lead your Rider troops, because even if you are not Rider main, you still would train Rider troops and someone has to lead them when you go fight in field, garrison, or sieges. The second factor is if you are Rider main, then these would be your must-have heroes in order to be successful in this game. This means these heroes would be either the best in the field, garrison, or sieges. Other important factors that I will also mention would be accessibility, as you could have a hero that is really good but they're just not accessible because they were from an event long time ago, and if you want to upgrade those heroes, then the shards would cost double the amount. And if a hero is the best at something, even if their damage is not that strong, I would still put them at a higher rank just because of that specialty ability that they have. So without further delay, let's start off with the hero that I already put a D, which is Jonathan. So Jonathan, hands down, is probably the worst legendary hero for the Rider class. Now, let's do a deep dive why he is so bad. So first of all, you get him a top commander, but why would you invest in him in top commander when you could either get Chasey or Sven, right? So let's look at his abilities. His first ability is called Focus Strike, and it's a rage skill that deals damage of up to 12,500 damage factor to the target. If the target is a rally squad, the target's HP is reduced by up to 20%, and counter damage is reduced by up to 15% for 2 seconds. So by just reading this, it looks like Jonathan was actually meant to be a counter rally hero because of the reduced damage done by counter damage. The problem is the counter damage reduction is not high enough to justify him being used for this specific role. And while the reduced HP debuff is pretty decent and his damage factor is okay, there's other heroes that you can use that will deal more damage than him and be more effective than him at even his specific role of being a counter rally hero. Let's look at his next skill called Recycle. This is a passive skill that when you defeat squads, you recover your own HP by healing factor of up to 11,250. This effect is triggered at most every 30 seconds. Inflict damage with a damage factor of 7,500 to a random target. So this skill looks good on paper, but in practice, I really don't know when you would utilize this. I mean, the healing factor is pretty good, but you have to defeat enemy squads first, right? And the damage factor is not bad as well. But ultimately, you still have to defeat the enemy with Jonathan for this to be effective. His next skill is called Base Set Sail, and it's a passive skill, and basic attack has 20% chance of reducing skill damage received by up to 25% for 2 seconds. If in alliance territory, it will also cost additional damage with damage factor of up to 2,600 to the enemy. This effect can be triggered at most once every 6 seconds. So as you can see, another counter rally ability because you have to be in alliance territory for this to work, meaning someone would be attacking one of your towers or shelters or buildings, and then he would be counter rallying and reducing the damage factor that he takes and also the potential of being swarmed by the enemy. Next skill is called Resource Adjustment. This is a passive skill where Rider squad attack is increased by up to 25%. When the remaining troops fall below 30%, squad attack increases by up to 20%. So 30% is pretty low, so by the time that kicks in, he's nearly dead already, so I wouldn't say this is actually a good skill. The Rider squad attack by 25% is decent though, so this is not completely a bad skill. When awakened, there is a skill enhancement for his Focus Strike ability, and this ability is called Precision Airstrike. So after awakening, the damage factor goes to 13,750 to the target. If the target is a rally squad, the target's HP is reduced by 25% and counter damage is reduced by 20% for 2 seconds. So this is not a bad awakening skill. The problem with Jonathan though is he's way too niche to be worthwhile getting when you have other heroes that you can get that has better overall utility, whether that be field, garrison, or sieges. Like this guy is specifically for counter rally, so it's way too specific of a use for him to be effective. So as a result, he is in D. The next hero on the list is going to be Mai. Now, the interesting thing about Mai is if you have gotten Mai during the event, I would actually argue she could be an S tier hero because she moves so fast. There is an argument that she's the fastest Rider hero in the game, although I don't think she takes the mantle anymore if you have one of the Calamity Sister skins for Cynthia. But if you didn't get her during that event, and that event is way over by now, I would actually put her a D just because she is not accessible. It takes double the legendary hero fragments for you to level up her skill, and that makes her terrible. So if you got her long time ago, she can be all the way up to S, but if you have gotten her long time ago, but you haven't leveled up any of her skills, then she is a D because she's essentially worthless. Let's look at her skills. Her first one is called Hakuro no Mai, which is a rage skill that deals scorch damage to up to 2 enemies in a fan-shaped area in front every second with a damage factor of up to 4,500 and reduces their travel speed by up to 25% for 3 seconds. So this is really good because you slow down the enemy, right? And you can keep beating them up so they can't escape from you. And Mai is super fast, right? Not only is the enemy slow down, you're moving so fast, so they really have no way to escape from you. Next skill is called Cho Hisatsu Shinobi Bachi, and this is a passive skill that increases rider squad HP by up to 20% and basic attack damage dealt to slow target by up to 33%. So obviously this is good after she fires her skill damage. Her third skill is called Kachusen, and it's a passive skill where the rider attack is increased by up to 30% and rider squad travel speed by up to 15%. So again, another fantastic skill set for Mai. Her fourth skill is Musasabi no Mai. It's a passive skill where rider squad attack is increased by up to 20%. After leaving battle, increases rider squad travel speed by up to 30% for 5 seconds if the remaining squad size is above 50%. So this is why she's so fast, because of this specific skill here that makes her go super fast. Last but not least, she has a skill enhancement for Musasabi no Mai, which is called Howowo no Mai, which I can't pronounce. And after awakening, there is an increase in rider squad attack by 30%. After leaving a battle, increase rider squad travel speed by 45% for 5 seconds if the remaining squad is above 50%. And again, this is one of the reasons why she would be the fastest hero in the game, perhaps before the Calamity Sister skin came out. So as you can see, she's easily an S tier hero if you have gotten all her fragments long time ago when she first got released. But now she is pretty much useless because she can't power up any of these stuff. The next hero on the list is actually going to be the Calamity Sisters. We're going to start with Catherine first. I have 2 Catherine images here, and that's because it really depends on if you have the Calamity Sister skin or not. Now, because of accessibility issues, I'm gonna put Catherine actually at D if you don't have her skin. But if you have her skin, she becomes an S, okay? So she kind of has like that Marco effect happening with the infantry squads, where if you do drop the money, she can be S tier during the right event, but if you don't, she is pretty useless. So I put her a D. Let's look at her skill, and we're gonna do a comparison on why this is so extreme and how I rank her. So I'm gonna click on skins here, and let's go with the first one, and we're going to be doing a comparison. So her first skill, if you do not get the skin, it's called Bloody Saw, but if you get her skin, it's gonna be called Bloody Onslaught. The rage skill in the original Catherine is a direct damage factor of 7,700, and the next attack has a 50% chance to deal a bonus damage of 4,700. So this one is just average if you really look at it, but once you have her skin, what really happens is deals direct damage to the target with a damage factor of up to 7,700 and has a 50% chance to deal bonus damage of up to 4,700. So that part is exactly the same, right? However, she now gets a combo damage. So there is a 30% chance of triggering combo damage once with a damage factor of 2,700. Each time combo damage is triggered, there is a chance of triggering combo damage again. So this scale damage can fire multiple times. The chance of triggering combo damage decreases with the number of triggers. So as you can see, this skill damage potentially increases her skill damage so much stronger than it really is. Her next skill is called Doom Girl. So this one is exactly the same for the original version of Catherine and the Catherine with a skin. So this one has a passive skill where you increase the rider squad attack by up to 25%. When Cynthia is in the squad, increases rider squad attack by an additional 12%. So this is a decent skill because of the increase in speed and the increase in rider squad attack. Third skill is called Crazy Obsession in the original version and Heavy Metal Storm in the skin version. So in the original version, there's a passive skill that increases rider squad travel speed by up to 15% and the damage dealt to zombies by up to 40%. Now, if you get the skin, there is another bonus ability which rider squad HP is increased by up to 30%. So originally this skill was mainly good for the travel speed because fighting zombies and getting additional damage to zombies zombies is not that important. But in the new version of this skill, it makes Catherine more tanky because of that extra 30% HP. And as you already know, HP is one of the most difficult attributes to get in this game. So any chance you can get more HP, that is a big win for that hero. Her fourth skill is called Pink Lightning for the original version and Cyber Sweetheart for the skin version. So for Pink Lightning, the squad's basic attack have 10% chance to recover up to 140 rage. And with the new version, there is an additional each time combo damage is triggered, reduces defense of the enemy target by up to 42%. So as you can see, this also debuffs the enemy, making this really amazing for the new version. The old version already is not bad because of the rage regeneration, even though it's just 10%. But the new version definitely makes it so much better because of that debuff. Now, when you awaken Catherine, it is a skill enhancement of Bloody Saw in the former version and Bloody Onslaught in the skin version. So after awakening, it deals a direct damage to the target with damage factor of 7,700, and the next deals bonus damage of a damage factor of 4,700. In the new version, it deals damage to the target with a damage factor of 8,500 and deals bonus damage with a damage factor of 5,100. Wow, that is a massive upgrade on the next attack. There's also a 50% chance of triggering combo damage with a damage factor of 3,600. Each time combo damage is triggered, there is a chance of triggering combo damage again. The chance of triggering combo damage decreases with the number of triggers. This awaken skill is ridiculously strong, but then you have to get her skin first, so it might not be accessible because you can only get it, I believe, by triggering it. I don't know exactly how to trigger it, but I think if you use her shards on her, or maybe if you awaken her, if you purchase her shards in the VIP store, then you could potentially trigger the ability to purchase her skin. And this is why Catherine is so extreme in terms of the tier ranking, is because you have to purchase her shards. You can't get it for free by any means. They did add her to the daily boost, but ultimately you still have to purchase her shards in order to level her up. The next hero is going to be Cynthia. So we're going to look at her original version as well as the skin version. Now for Cynthia, the skin version is obviously S tier, but even her regular version, I would still put it at B just because she's so accessible. She's one of the earliest legendary heroes that you can get, and she's still useful in her original state. You can do bounty with her. She's still really fast, pretty close to the speed of Mai, and when you do get her skin, she is the fastest hero in the game. So let's look at her abilities. Her first skill in the original version is called Dual Fire, and it's a rage skill that deals direct damage to the squad with a damage factor of up to 7,800. It also reduces the target squad attack by up to 30% and travel speed by up to 30% for 2 seconds. In the new version, Ace Assassin, the damage factor goes up to 10,000, which is a sizable upgrade. The attack reduction is exactly the same, and the travel reduction is exactly the same. However, there is also an additional direct damage factor. So if your travel speed is greater than the enemy's travel speed, the damage factor increases up to 13,000. And she is the fastest hero in the game, for God's sake, so she will have faster speed than the enemy. Her next skill is called Dodge and Strike for the original version and Stealth Strike for the new version. So this is a passive skill that increases Rider squad attack by up to 25% and travel speed by up to 12%. In the new version, it increases the Rider squad attack by up to 30%, so a 5% increase, and the Rider squad travel speed is the same with up to 12%. Counter attacks have a 20% chance to increase Rider travel speed up to 30% for 3 seconds. This effect can be triggered only once in 5 seconds. The next skill is called High Caliber for the original version and a Step Away in the skin version. This is a passive skill where the squad's basic attacks have 20% chance to heal lightly wounded units in your squads with a healing factor of up to 1,200. If Catherine is in the squad, healing will be increased by up to 15%. So this is why you want her to be paired up with Catherine. However, in the new version, there is an additional skill bonus. In the skin version, it also increases the Rider squad defense by up to 18% and healing effect by 5%. So as you can see, the skin version is definitely superior to the original version. The fourth skill is exactly the same. It's called Embers of Revenge. It's a passive skill that increases Rider squad HP by up to 15% and damage dealt to zombies by up to 30%. So this one is just okay, although the increase in HP is not bad because you definitely want the increase in HP regardless of what troop type that you have. Her awakened skill is called Cool Heroine in the original version, which is a passive skill that gains 50 rage after using a skill. In the new version, it's called Outer Reach, and it increases the Rider squad travel speed by 12%. It also gains 50 rage after using a skill and heals own lightly wounded troops with a healing factor of 1,200. So as you can see, the increase in speed definitely makes this awakened skill amazing. The next hero on the list is going to be Felix, and I'm putting Felix at S. Okay, now I'm gonna just mention right now that I hate Felix. I absolutely hate his character design. He is so annoying looking. But with that being said, I do acknowledge that he is one of the best, if not the best, rider heroes in the game right now. And he has multiple utilities as well. I've seen people using him for sieging, which is ridiculous. Whenever you have a hero that has multiple utilities, that makes him an S tier. So even if you're not rider main, Felix would still be a really good hero for you to get. Let's look at his first skill. It's called Accelerate and Overtake. It's a rage skill where the basic attacks deal bonus damage of up to 3,100 for the next 5 seconds. Each basic attack will also reduce skill damage by up to 10% for 2 seconds. So this is a really good counter for heroes like Julia and Lewis that requires a lot of skill damage, because you will essentially reduce their skill damage done to you. This makes him quite defensive also, and this is why perhaps I've seen him being paired with Chasey also for Garrison. The next skill is called Steady Airflow, which is a passive skill where rider travel speed increases by up to 18% and reduces counter damage by up to 44%. A very amazing skill that increases your speed and counter damage. Third skill is called Champion Declaration. It's a passive skill where basic attacks have a 20% chance to increase all damage dealt by oneself by up to 1.8%. And this increases up to 18%. So this is a solid skill in general. I don't really have anything to say about this other than that. Next, there is Pit Stop, which is a passive skill that increases rider squad attack by up to 32%. When taking skill damage, increases own squad attack by 16% for 3 seconds. Again, this is definitely a counter to Julian Lewis or Bard, or any hero in fact that's using skill damage on this guy. And his awakened skill is called Rapid Duel. It's a new passive skill that performs an additional basic attack every 10 seconds. This basic attack grants 70 rage and will not trigger counter attacks from the enemy. Again, this makes Felix a monster when it comes to doing basic damage on the enemy. The next hero on the list is Sven, and I'm gonna put Sven actually at B, I think. So the reason why I'm putting Sven at B is because if you're not rider main, you would not get Sven at all. Like, there is no point, because he is technically supposed to be a siege hero. But even if you're rider main, I've actually been seeing rider mains not use Sven in their sieges as well, which is kind of weird because he's built for siege. Let's look at Sven's first skill, which is called Burning Hatred. It's a rage skill that deals direct damage to target squad with a damage factor of up to 12,000 and increase your travel speed by up to 50% for 5 seconds. Wow, that makes him really fast. Actually, this makes him really good at chasing down enemies. His next skill is called Gang Fight. It increases the rider squad attack by up to 20% and defense by up to 20%. Again, a powerful, solid skill. Third one is called Wild Hunter. It's a passive skill when leading only rider squad's damage taken is reduced by up to 15%. Again, another amazing skill. Next one is called Rampage of Doom. It's a passive skill that reduces damage taken by up to 12% during sieges. Basic attacks have 20% chance to deal additional damage of up to 1,100 damage factor to garrison squads. So this is why he is a siege hero, because of this specific skill, and I would not rule him out when being used for the purpose of sieging. His fifth skill is called Daredevil. It's a new skill, and it's a passive skill that reduces counter damage by 20%. So as you can see, he's definitely built for sieging. And if you are rider main and you want to use Sven as your siege captain, he's definitely a good option. That's why I put him at B. So he's still useful, but only for rider mains specifically, not so much for those who are not rider mains. The next hero on the list is going to be Bella. So Bella used to be a solid S for a lot of people, but nowadays I think she is at A now because of Felix. I would actually say that she is A+. So she's almost an S if Felix or the Calamity Sister skins weren't there. Her first skill is called Fatal Claw, and it's a rage skill that deals direct damage to a target squad with a direct damage factor of 12,000, has 50% chance to increase the enemy's damage taken by up to 15% for 3 seconds. So this is an amazing debuff. Her next skill is called Wild Rampage. This is a passive skill. When not in battle, rider squad travel speed increases by up to 30%. This makes her so fast. Also gains up to 150 rage when entering battle, but travel speed will be reduced by 10% for 3 seconds when taking skill damage. So there is a downside to this ability. Otherwise, it is an amazing ability, especially the travel speed increase. Her third skill is called Piercing Fangs. It increases rider squad attack by up to 30% and deals 24% more damage to the squad with shield effect. So this makes her really good at fighting heroes such as Riven, Rigoro, Bianca, or any other heroes that uses a shield. Fourth skill is called Savage Hunt. It's a passive skill when leading only rider squads. The damage will be increased by up to 15%. Increased damage dealt to target squad by up to 12% when its remaining squad size is less than 30%. So this one is just okay because of that second factor of the squad size having to be less than 30%. Her fifth skill is called Lion's Might. It's a skill enhancement of Fatal Claw, and after awakening, it deals direct damage to a target squad of 13,000 and it increases the target's damage taken by 20% for 3 seconds. So this is a solid awakened skill. So as you can see, Bella is still a really good hero if you want to get Bella. If you are not rider main, she is still amazing to have in your team. If you are rider main, definitely Bella would still have a room in your team. She is an amazing partner for Elena, and she is also good to be paired up with Cynthia. So again, a very solid choice of Rider hero. The next hero on the list is Elena, and she is S tier. She is even better now with the new heroes coming out, and I'll explain shortly why. So previously, Elena was only good if you awaken her because she's way too slow otherwise, but nowadays she has multiple utilities in this game, making her an amazing hero whether you are Rider main or if you are not Rider main. Her first skill is called Enforced Justice, and this is a rage skill that deals damage to the target every second for 3 seconds with a damage factor of 5,400. This is a huge amount of damage. If the target is flanked, the damage received by the target will be increased up to 5,950 every second. So as you can see, Elena is a monster in the damage dealing department. Her next skill is called Tactical Rollover. When receiving AoE damage, there is up to 90% chance of reducing damage received by up to 40%. This effect can be triggered at most once every 6 seconds. So as you can see, this is a direct counter to Bard and Lewis. So she is amazing for Garrison as a result of this. Her next skill is called Ambush. It's a passive skill that increases Rider squad defense by up to 30% and increases damage dealt to flank targets by up to 13.5%. So the increase in squad defense makes her quite tanky, again making her amazing in Garrison. Her fourth skill is an increase in basic attack damage by up to 30%. When rage is above 50%, basic attack damage increases up to 53%. So this skill, High Noon, is super complementary to Chase's skill of increasing her basic attack, thus making Elena one of the perfect partners for Chasey, especially in the Garrison department. Her final skill is called Mountain Lion. It's a new skill that Rider attack increased by 20% and travel speed by 20%. So this is really good for field battles, and this is why originally she was only good when you awaken her, because if you pair her up with Bella, they will be moving fast and dealing a lot of damage. But nowadays she can also be used for Garrison, making her extremely versatile as a result, hence why she is S tier, hence why if you are not Rider main, she should still be one of the 2 heroes that get in your Rider hero lineup. And last but not least, we have Chasey, who is going to be an S tier hero. So the reason why she is an S tier hero is because before Chasey was around, there was no Garrison hero for Riders. And not only does Chasey allow Rider to Garrison, it essentially makes any alliances in this game that has a Chasey Garrison main double their defensive capabilities, because every alliances relies too much on infantry Garrison. So what happens when you are in a long drawn out war and everyone is out of infantry troops? Then you're screwed, right? You're gonna lose. But if you have a Chasey Garrison, guess what? Everyone can now use their Riders to defend your towers or any structures that requires Garrison, essentially doubling your defensive capabilities, allowing you to last in battles longer and giving you also more flexibility so that when the enemy is trying to use range rallies on you, you can switch over to Chasey and you have a high chance of survivability. And on top of that, Chasey has a super weapon, which makes her extra ridiculous on top of how useful she is already from a Garrison standpoint. Her first skill is called Unethical Thief. It's a rage skill that increases basic damage by up to 290% for 5 seconds. That is disgusting amount of basic damage. If Garrison during this time reduces skill damage from ranged squads by up to 17.5%. That is a disgusting amount of skill damage reduction by Chasey from ranged squads, and this stacks also with Elena's reduction of AoE damage, making them the perfect match in heaven. Next skill is called Lost in the Moonlight, and this is a passive skill that increases Rider squad HP by up to 30%. Again, this makes her so tanky. Also reduces skill damage taken by up to 7.5% against squads with a remaining squad size greater than 50%. So when the enemy is fresh and they're attacking Chasey, then Chasey is extra defensive. Her third skill is called Lashing Whip. It's a passive skill that increases basic attack damage by up to 46%. Again, amazing. If inflicted with Silence, which is what Julia has, up to 50% chance to deal 1 additional basic attack per turn for the duration of the effect. This basic attack grants 20 rage, so she is definitely built to counter Julia because of this specific skill. Her fourth skill is called Wits and Eloquence. It's a passive skill that increases Rider squad attack by up to 32% when Garrison. So this makes her damage really strong while doing Garrison. During this period, basic attacks have a 10% chance to deal a damage factor of up to 1,800 to up to 3 units in a fan-shaped area. These effects can be triggered only once in 6 seconds. So So that second part of the skill is not as good. So this is probably going to be one of her weaker skills because of the 10% chance, but otherwise still a very solid, strong skill. And when awakened, she gets a new skill called Shadow Stalker, which increases basic attack damage dealt to target squad by 35% when its remaining squad size is less than 50%. So basically, this just makes her extra strong regardless of how much squad size is left for the enemy. Now, let's look at her super weapon. The effect of the super weapon is basic attacks have a 30% chance to inflict charm on the enemy. Charm reduces damage dealt by 5% for 3 seconds. However, you can level this up and the damage reduction can go all the way up to 15%. So again, this makes her extra tanky than she already is. And then on top of that, you can transcend her skills. The first transcended skill of Unethical Thief increases basic damage by 330% for 5 seconds. It was already broken before, though this is extra broken. If garrisoned during this time, reduces basic attack damage taken by 15% and skill damage from range squad by 20%. Nothing else to say other than this is an amazing transcended skill. Next one is Transcending Lost in the Moonlight, and the Transcended Edition is increases Rider squad HP by 38%. That is sick. Reduces skill damage taken by 10% against squads with a remaining squad size greater. So again, an amazing transcended skill. The third one's called Lashing Whip, and the Transcended Edition is increased basic attack damage by 55%. Basic attacks have a 30% chance to reduce AoE damage taken by 20% for 3 seconds. If inflicted with silence, has a 50% chance to deal 1 additional basic damage per turn for the duration of the effects. These basic attacks grant 20 additional range. So again, another solid addition to her transcended skill. And last but not least, Wits and Eloquence. And what happens when you transcend it is increases Rider squad attack by 36%. When garrisoned, basic attacks have a 25% chance to deal a damage factor of 1,800 to up to 3 units within range and inflict charm on them. This effect can be triggered only once in 4 seconds. Again, another solid skill. Last but not least, Shadow Stalker, and the Transcended Edition increases basic attack damage dealt to target squad by 50% when its remaining squad is less than 50%. So again, really strong, as you can see already. Phantom Feline has a 100% chance to inflict charm. So as you can see, Chasey is hands down one of the best garrison heroes in this game and a must-have for anybody that is Rider main. So anyways, that's about it for this video. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them in the comment section. Otherwise, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you next time.